Hi, you are watching Reddit Stories.
My ex cheated, but that was the least of the betrayals. So, a bit of a warning up front. This isn't your average, my ex cheated on me and I found out kind of story. If you're expecting something clean and cathartic, this isn't it. I thought I was living a normal life until I peeled back a few layers and realized I'd been walking through a minefield the entire time. Let's rewind about 2 years. I, 33M, had been dating Rachel, 29F, for almost 3 years. She was magnetic funny, sarcastic, wildly intelligent, and with that chaotic streak that makes everything feel a bit like a movie. You know the type. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but whose is? We had fights, but we laughed more than we argued. At least, I thought we did. Rachel was in marketing. Fast-paced job, lots of networking events, which I didn't mind. I'm in cybersecurity and tend to be more of a homebody, so her social streak balanced me out. At least that's what I told myself when she started coming home late. Too many nights out with clients turned into her crashing at a friend's place or saying she had early meetings and needed to stay closer to downtown. Red flags? Sure. But you don't always see red when you're wearing rose-colored glasses. I started to get suspicious, not when she started disappearing, but when she got too affectionate. That might sound backward, but it's true. She suddenly became more physically affectionate, more attentive, more interested in what I was doing. It felt off, like she was trying to cover something up. My gut started whispering things I didn't want to hear. So I did what any suspicious boyfriend would do. I checked her tablet. Not proud of it. I'd never gone through her stuff before, but I knew her password. She knew mine, too. And it was just sitting there one night when she was in the shower. The messages were clean, too clean. No messages more than a week old. Nothing saved. I almost put it back when I realized there were deleted photo recovery apps installed. I checked the folder. There was a picture. Not even a revealing one. Just Rachel at a rooftop bar, laughing clearly mid-conversation. But she wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking at someone across from her. The reflection in the wine glass gave him away. Tall guy, shaved head, distinctive tattoo on the wrist, something tribal. I recognized him. It was Nate, my coworker. Let me pause here. Nate and I weren't best friends or anything, but we worked together for 4 years, shared projects, beer, after deadlines. He came to our last Christmas party, talked with Rachel about travel and whiskey and God knows what else. Apparently, quite a bit more than I realized. So, I did the thing I swore I'd never do. I started investigating my own girlfriend like she was a client under threat. Phone pings, calendar events, emails. I traced one of her client meetings to a boutique hotel in the city. She wasn't there for work. I confronted her the next day. She didn't deny it. That was the worst part. She just sat down and said, "Yeah, it's been going on for a few months. No tears, no yelling, just a hollow confession like she was reading a grocery list." I told her to get out, and she did. Packed a bag and left. No apology. No, I didn't mean to hurt you. Just silence. But here's where things started to spiral. The next day, I got a call from my boss. He wanted to see me. When I got there, HR was waiting too. Turns out someone had submitted a complaint against me. Apparently, I'd been accessing confidential data outside of company protocol, using employee devices to stalk a coworker. It sounded insane until they showed me the logs. Someone had planted scripts to make it look like I'd been monitoring Nate's activity across the network. The timestamps all pointed to my login. The pattern was clean, too clean. I don't know how they got access to my credentials, but I had theories. The only person who had that level of access, who knew how I stored my passwords, who had ever used my devices was Rachel. She didn't just cheat. She framed me. I was put on administrative leave pending investigation. My name was trashed. People stopped replying to texts. My reputation, everything I'd built in my career, was bleeding out slowly and publicly, and the worst part, I couldn't prove any of it. Not yet. Rachel moved in with Nate 2 weeks later. I know because I drove by one night. Not proud of that either. It was 2 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. The lights were on. Her favorite vinyl playing something old and moody. I recognized the shadow of her in the window. I wanted to scream. But then, the twist. I got a message from a burner email. It said, "She did the same thing to me. Let's talk." Attached was a phone number. I debated for a full hour, but curiosity and desperation won. The guy's name was James. He said he dated Rachel 6 years ago, long before I met her. Things had ended badly. She accused him of stalking her, filed a police report, got a restraining order. His life imploded, lost his job, his friends, even his apartment. But he swore he never did any of it. He said she set him up, framed him for things she did herself. His story sounded eerily familiar. So I asked him one thing. "Do you know about the tattoo?" He went quiet, then said, "It's not Nate's tattoo, it's hers." I froze. Apparently, Rachel had a fake tattoo sleeve she used sometimes when she was clubbing or playing certain roles. She liked experimenting with identities, playing different people. James said he had pictures. Rachel dressed up completely differently with new names and backstories, seducing people for fun. It sounded insane until I saw the pictures. There she was looking like someone else entirely. Blonde wig, piercings, laughing into a mirror. It clicked. Nate wasn't the mastermind. He was the next pawn. So I did what I do best. I started digging. Deep. If Rachel had done this to others, there had to be traces. False identities, leaked photos, messages sent from different burner numbers. Over the next month, I found 3 more men. 1 in Seattle, 1 in Austin, 1 in Chicago. All had eerily similar stories, relationships that started out passionate, then turned manipulative, and finally exploded with them being accused of things they didn't do. Rachel wasn't just a cheater. She was a serial manipulator, possibly a sociopath. But the final twist? That came when I confronted her again. I'll save that for the next post. I didn't reach out to Rachel right away. I wanted proof. Not for court or revenge, just for myself. To make sense of the chaos I'd been dragged through. I still couldn't wrap my head around it. The woman I'd lived with, slept beside, and imagined marrying was potentially running some kind of twisted long con on multiple people. I spent weeks compiling everything. I logged metadata on photos, timestamps on messages, even hotel records under fake names I suspected she used. I matched social profiles. I created a goddamn corkboard in my apartment with strings and pins like I was in a Netflix thriller. Each connection I found made my stomach churn. I even reached out to the guy in Chicago, Mike. He was hesitant to talk at first, but when I mentioned her fake tattoo and the name Lena, he got quiet and then opened up. He showed me emails he'd kept, emails Lena sent, threatening to destroy him after he tried to break things off. There were pictures, too, of her with a different hair color, in his apartment, using a different voice. She even used a different handwriting style in notes she left him. There was a clear pattern. Rachel, or whatever version of her they knew, would come into these guys' lives like a lightning bolt. She'd study them, charm them, love bomb them. Then she'd manipulate, lie, gaslight. And finally, when they started pulling away or getting suspicious, she'd burn them to the ground. And here's the thing, she was good at it. Meticulous, strategic. always a step ahead. I thought I was close to understanding it all, but then something happened that blew the whole thing wide open. One of the burner accounts I was watching pinged a new location, Denver. It was her. I could tell by the phrasing in the messages, same patterns. This time she was messaging a guy named Eric, a photographer. She'd changed names again, now going by Sierra. I did a reverse image search on one of the selfies she sent him. It led me to a modeling profile under yet another name, Elise Monroe. The bio listed her as freelance, nomadic, passionate about stories and people. My skin crawled. She wasn't just doing this for fun. This was a lifestyle. And the kicker? She had a Patreon. A whole page of fictional character studies and narrative immersion projects. People were funding her, thinking she was some kind of avant-garde performance artist. She even posted cryptic updates like, next episode, Betrayal in the City of Lights. I didn't know whether to scream or be impressed. But then came the real twist. One night, I was reviewing security footage from an old drive I hadn't touched since the breakup. I'd forgotten I had an indoor cam set up in the living room. Rachel hated it, said it made her feel like she was being watched. I told her it was just for when we traveled. The feed was mostly boring. Until I hit footage from 3 months before the breakup. There she was, Rachel alone in the apartment. She was on the phone. I turned up the volume. She was talking about me. Not just in a casual way. She was planning something. He has no idea. I've got the VPN split tunneling clean. The keystroke logs are in place. I'll start laying the breadcrumbs next week. Worst case, we use the burner IP and let HR connect the dots. My blood ran cold. She was plotting the whole frame job. Every move. Like it was a goddamn script. And then she said something that made my stomach drop. He'll bounce back. He's not the target anyway. Not the target. What did that even mean? I spent days trying to decode that. Was I just collateral damage? A prop in some bigger performance? And then, one night, it hit me. Nate. I started going through company data again, not illegally, just using publicly accessible reports, LinkedIn, whatever I could get. I noticed something strange. Nate had recently been promoted to a position that didn't make sense. He had no credentials for it, no track record. But his new role gave him access to a specific database one that handled third-party security vendor contracts. And guess what Rachel used to do before marketing? Procurement intelligence. She wasn't trying to ruin me. She was using me to get to Nate. Nate was the key. She got close to me to get close to the company. Framed me to eliminate suspicion. Got Nate promoted, probably by nudging him into opportunities and helping him look like a hero. Then used him as an inside man. And I'm willing to bet Nate didn't even know it. It was all smoke and mirrors. So now I was holding evidence that Rachel was potentially committing corporate espionage on top of psychological manipulation. It stopped being personal and started becoming criminal. I had a choice. Turn her in or walk away and let it all burn behind me. I chose neither. I reached out to Rachel. No warning, no threats. Just a simple message. I know what you did. We need to talk. No tricks. To my surprise, she replied within minutes. Tomorrow. 8 p.m. The cafe on 7th. I showed up early. She was already there, wearing sunglasses and sipping tea, like she was in a spy novel. She looked calm, relaxed, almost smug. I sat down and didn't say anything. She broke the silence first. You figured it out, didn't you? I nodded. I always wondered how long it would take. I thought you'd crumble. Most of them do. That line told me everything. She wasn't sorry. She was proud of it. She was testing people like they were puzzles, seeing how far she could push them before they broke. I asked her one thing. Why me? She smiled, genuinely smiled, and said, "You were supposed to be the safe one. I needed access. You had it. And then you started to matter." I didn't say anything. I just slid a flash drive across the table. "Copies of everything? Insurance," I said. She stared at it, unreadable. "I'm not going to the cops. Not yet. But if anything else happens, if I lose one more job, one more friend, if one more person gets sucked into your orbit, I release everything." She nodded once. No arguments, no theatrics. We never spoke again. A week later, Rachel's Patreon disappeared. Her burner accounts went dead. Nate left the company to pursue other opportunities. I never found out if he knew the full truth or just realized something was off and bailed. I changed jobs. Different city, different life. Every now and then I wonder what Rachel's doing. If she's reinvented herself again. If there's another guy right now falling for her stories. I don't warn them. Not anymore. Sometimes you can't stop the storm. You just learn how to rebuild after it. A year passed. I moved to Portland, got a job at a small but well-funded cybersecurity firm, and started seeing a therapist who didn't flinch when I told her everything. I even started dating again, casually, carefully. But I never fully let my guard down. Some damage just hardens into instinct. Life was calmer. No anonymous burner emails, no fake profiles. No waking up in cold sweats wondering if someone had hacked my cloud storage or if another coworker thought I was stalking them. I stopped checking behind every curtain until I saw her again. Not Rachel, not at first. It was a woman in a bookstore. She was flipping through a copy of Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk, Rachel's favorite book. Same edition. Same creased corner on page 46. She looked up at me and smiled. Not flirtatiously, just politely. But I froze. Because she looked familiar. Not Rachel exactly, but her face. It had her bones, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the slight tilt of her head when she listened to the store clerk talk. I backed out of the aisle like I was in a horror movie. I told myself I was being paranoid. But the next morning, I had an email. Subject line. Funny seeing you again. No body text. Just a photo. It was me in the bookstore, facing the mystery woman from the side. The shot had clearly been taken from across the street, through the glass. Time-stamped, geotagged, mocking. I couldn't believe it. After a year off the grid, she'd found me again. I told myself to let it go. But you know me by now, I didn't. I started looking again. Quietly. Carefully. I went back to the bookstore the next week. The same woman was there again, this time reading The Bell Jar. A classic, a warning. I approached her slowly. "Excuse me," I said. "Do I know you?" She looked up, surprised. "I don't think so." Her voice was calm, soft. Too soft. Rachel's voice had more edge. But this woman, she wasn't quite right. Like a copy made from memory. I nodded and walked away. That night, another email came. Subject line. You're getting warmer. No photo this time. Just a line of text. You were never the first, but maybe you'll be the last. That's when I realized the game had restarted. But this time, it wasn't just Rachel playing. The woman from the bookstore wasn't her. She was someone else, but connected. I dug deep again. And this time, I found something I'd missed before. A Reddit thread. Buried. Old. Posted under a throwaway account. It was titled, "My sister is destroying people's lives for fun. I don't know how to stop her." The post had only a few upvotes, but it told a story that chilled me. It described a woman charming, intelligent, with a taste for reinvention. She used aliases. She liked testing boundaries. She used romantic relationships as experiments. And she had a sister who watched from the sidelines, trying and failing to intervene. There were no names. But a small detail jumped out. The poster said she used to send people photos of them taken secretly. She has this thing with voyeurism. It's like a signature. I DM'd the account. Didn't expect a reply. But 3 days later, I got one. Are you one of hers? I told her everything. And slowly, she opened up. Her name was Lena. She was Rachel's older sister. Not close anymore, but they'd once been inseparable. She said Rachel had always been different. Even as a kid, she'd manipulate people, make friends fight, play innocent. It got worse after their dad died. Rachel started creating personas. Lying became a sport. Lena said she tried to help, took her to therapists, even covered for her when she got in trouble at college. But eventually she cut contact, moved across the country, started over, until Rachel found her again. She used to send me photos too, Lena said. Me, my husband, my kid. Never threatening, just reminders. Reminders she was still out there, watching, winning. That's when I put it together. Rachel wasn't targeting me again for revenge. She was using me to get to Lena. The woman in the bookstore, her name was Erin. She was Lena's cousin on their father's side. She looked like Rachel because she shared genes. Rachel had somehow coaxed her into the game. Whether by charm or blackmail, I don't know. But it all fit. Rachel had built a network. Not just exes. Not just lovers, family, allies, puppets. A web. And then came the final twist. Lena sent me an old journal Rachel had kept in high school. She scanned the pages and sent them to me anonymously. The handwriting was erratic. The entries were cryptic. But one phrase kept showing up over and over. I want to be remembered in the details. That's when it all snapped into place. Rachel didn't care about being loved or feared or even winning. She wanted to be seen. She wanted her fingerprints on lives. To live in people's heads, hearts, and hard drives. She didn't destroy people because she hated them. She did it so they'd never forget her. And you know what? It worked. Even now, I can't go to a bookstore without thinking she's behind a shelf. Every sudden email makes my stomach twist. She lives in the shadows of my browser history. The ghosts of burned friendships. The gaps in my resume I'll never be able to explain. But here's the final thing I'll tell you. I don't hate her anymore. Hating her means she still owns me. So I let her go. And maybe if there's any justice, she'll one day find someone who sees the storm coming and doesn't step into it, or maybe not. But either way, this is the last chapter I'll write about her. She wanted to be remembered. Now she is. It had been almost 2 years since I last saw Rachel in person. Life was mostly quiet. I kept things small, routine, manageable. I deleted social media, stopped attending conferences. I even dropped off the radar in the cybersecurity community, which felt like amputating part of myself. But it was worth it for peace. Or so I thought. Then a package arrived at my doorstep. No name, no return address. Just a black envelope inside. It contained a single Polaroid of me, sleeping, my apartment, my bed. I stared at it for 10 straight minutes. My head spun, doors locked. No sign of forced entry. My building had a security guard, but he'd recently changed. A new guy, quiet, sunglasses indoors. Something clicked. The next morning, he was gone. Just never showed up again. And I never found out who hired him. I started to unravel again. Sleepless nights, compulsively checking for surveillance bugs. I even pulled my walls apart. Nothing. Then, I got a message from Lena. I think she's sick, it said, and I think she's escalating. Rachel had resurfaced, and this time she wasn't content with manipulation. This time she wanted fear. That's when Lena told me the truth. Rachel had a diagnosis: borderline personality disorder, possibly antisocial tendencies. A therapist once suggested narcissistic personality disorder, but Rachel never followed through with treatment. She doesn't want to get better, Lena said. She wants to win. We decided to trap her. It was Lena's idea. A digital honeypot. We set up a fake profile for a wealthy but unstable man living in LA, someone with a history of emotional neediness and access to sensitive tech. We made him vulnerable. We made him loud. We made him exactly Rachel's type. And we waited. It took 6 days for her to bite. She contacted the fake profile through a dating site under a new alias, Isabel. Blonde hair, big sunglasses, vegan food blogger persona. Completely fabricated but flawlessly executed. She began love-bombing him almost immediately. Voice messages, sexy photos, even a fake story about being ostracized by her family. Classic Rachel. We recorded everything, every IP ping, every timestamp. We didn't know if it was enough for law enforcement, but we were going to try. Lena said she had a friend in the FBI off the record. We just needed one final piece: a meetup. Rachel arranged to meet Isaac, our fake persona, at a bar in Santa Monica. But instead, she walked into a room filled with law enforcement. Lena and I weren't there. We watched from a private feed. They brought her in for questioning on suspicion of interstate fraud and identity manipulation. She didn't crack. She smiled, played dumb, asked for water. In the end, they didn't arrest her. No hard evidence of a crime. Hard, but she knew we'd cornered her, and that changed everything. She disappeared again. No more Polaroids, no more burner emails, just digital dust. I thought that was the end, until 3 months later, I got a letter, handwritten, smudged, torn on one corner. It simply said, "I was never playing with you. You were the one person I saw clearly. That's why I had to break you. But you fixed yourself. So I'll stop now. You earned it." There was no signature, but I knew who it was. And for the first time in years, I believed her. Not that she was done, but that she was capable of letting go. She'd moved on to her next story. I hope it ends better for whoever stars in it, but I doubt it. I used to think the worst part of betrayal was the pain. Turns out it's the echo. Years have passed now. I don't check over my shoulder anymore, not really. The nightmares stopped. I've rebuilt new job, new apartment, new relationships, the kind that breathe, not suffocate. I've even reconnected with a few people who distanced themselves when everything went down. Most forgave me, some still don't. That's life. But Rachel? She still exists. I don't mean physically, I have no idea where she is. Lena thinks she's in Berlin, based on a series of high-level phishing attempts targeting a European cyber finance firm that shared some of Rachel's digital fingerprints. But it's all speculation. Rachel could be living in a mountain town under a new name, or sipping espresso in Paris while crafting another persona. The point is, she's out there. And strangely, I don't need revenge. I just wanted closure. Let me tell you how I finally got it. It happened quietly, almost anticlimactically. I was cleaning out a hard drive I hadn't touched in years, trying to consolidate files, and I found a folder named Remember This? I don't remember creating it. The date modified said it was from about 2 months before the fallout with Rachel. Inside were dozens of voice recordings. I clicked play on the first one. It was her voice, soft, calm, confessional. She was talking to herself, or maybe to me, or maybe to no one. But her words were chilling. He's the first one I felt bad about. I think that's a problem. I think I'm a problem. Another one. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like to be normal, to just love someone and not rip them open to see what's inside. I sat there, numb, playing them all. She'd been recording voice memos for weeks, maybe for therapy, maybe as a journal. Or maybe it was her version of a time capsule, a record of who she was before she detonated everything. One stuck with me. When he finds these, if he ever does, I want him to know. It wasn't all a lie. I just didn't know how to be the person he thought I was. I don't know if it was remorse or manipulation, one last long play. But it felt honest. For the first time, I didn't see a villain. I saw a human being, flawed, broken. Still dangerous, but human. And that was the closure. Not a trial, not a confession. Just that raw, unfiltered window into her mind. I copied the folder onto a thumb drive, deleted the original. Then I mailed the drive to Lena with a note. "You'll know what to do with this." She never replied. But 3 months later, a podcast dropped. It was called The Woman with 1,000 Names. Produced anonymously, professionally edited. It used voice distortions, pseudonyms, interviews with some of the men Rachel had affected, including, very briefly, me. Lena had turned the tapes into something powerful. Not revenge porn, not salacious gossip. A warning, a story. And for once, Rachel wasn't the one in control of the narrative. She became the subject instead of the author. And that, ironically, is probably what killed her interest for good. To this day, I don't know if she's heard the podcast. I assume she has. Part of me even imagines her listening to it with a smirk, saying, "Not bad, but I would have written a better ending." But here's the truth. There is no clean ending. People like Rachel don't exit your life like a period. They linger like ellipses. They blur the line between victim and villain, love and obsession, truth and manipulation. But if I learned anything from surviving her, it's this. The story only owns you if you let it. I stopped letting it. Now I tell it. Not for her. Not even for you. For me. Because I deserve to remember what happened without shame. Because sometimes surviving the storm means learning to be your own shelter. And because someone, somewhere, will meet their own Rachel one day. And maybe, just maybe, they'll recognize the signs before it's too late.